What is going on, guys? This is All Gaming with my review of Black Bullet episode 11. And this episode, it was actually pretty good. We didn't have those shocking moments or those moments that hit you in the feels like last week. But overall, this episode, it was definitely pretty enjoyable. So the episode itself, it starts off where we see the battle going on, and we have Rentaro and his crew. They're all watching, and we have Enju now asking him if the JSDF can actually win. And you think that they can because it's just Gastria, and we see now how these civil officers and their culture can take them on. So you would think an army like force can probably wipe them all out. But it definitely was not that easy for them, as we saw a tank flying through the air before crashing down and exploding, and we see that someone or something has unified all of these galaxies to work together, and that's why right now they're like dominating the battlefield. And so we see I think it's just like one special species of Gastria. They're called like detachments because we see that they can like shoot out eggs, and I'm guessing that when the Gastria hatch, it'll be troublesome. And so we have Rentaro and his crew. They were the only one to recognize that, so obviously they would have to act on that. And so immediately they had to make a choice because they had to follow orders and stay in line, or they could possibly get in trouble by going out there and defeating those Gastria. So right now Rentaro made a difficult choice, but he had to go with what was right, and that caused him and everybody else to disobey orders and leave the line. And you see, I'm guessing, their one leader, because he was Gado's son, he had called out to them and told them to get back in line, but of course they didn't listen. And so we have like this very quick action scenes where we have all our characters here fighting the Gastria, and Kisara definitely impressed me the most. I am loving her sword skills because I'm so glad that we can see her fighting more, because we saw that one Gastria, it had already regenerated and was like on the move. And not only did Kisara, cut them into pieces, but she also cut like these two trees down as well. And that was awesome. I'm glad we could see more of her skill because her sword style, it is definitely awesome. So I do like that a lot. And so now we see that when they return, obviously things are not looking too well, because you see the Gastria, they are now storming the field, and we have this like one group that for some reason right there in the middle of them, rather than like trying to escape and save their lives, they were like standing right out in their front taking on these Gastria. And we saw like one person actually getting impaled. I'm surprised that they went that far, rather than censoring it or not cutting that out. But the way that he actually died like that, it was pretty messed up. And so we have this one guy. It was Gado's son. Now right now his name does escape me, but this guy had freaking snapped. He had went crazy. He was like definitely broken, and he asked Rentaro if he's seen the Spirit of Light, and that right there, like made me raise a brow because for one I was confused, because you would think that something called the Spirit of Light, it would be a weapon that the human would use, rather than the Gastria. And so we see that this guy, his cursed child partner, she actually died. And the only thing that was like left of her was his arm, was her arm, because he was still holding her hand. And even though he did go crazy, I definitely felt bad for the guy. But we see now that this Gastria that was underground, it had attacked him, and we see that he was like hanging on for his life before sadly he fell, and that right there is where the other Gastria ate him. Now that right there was pretty messed up. But then we saw what the Spirit of Light actually was, and we see now that it was the same kind of Gastria that had first, that had first attacked the monolith and caused it, to break down. Now I do wonder if this right here was the same Gastria, or this right here, was a different one. But obviously, they do have the same species name. I believe it's called the Oberon. I'm probably saying that wrong, but you guys definitely know what I'm talking about. And so we see that with the Spirit of Light, we see that it's obviously attacking our humans here rather than the Gastria itself. But at one moment, this special Gastria, you should call it, it actually retreats, and it brings all the other Gastria with it. And so now that their attack has stopped for now, we see Rentaro, he's now walking to where they're like treating all the injured, and we see that most of these officers, they are, badly wounded. But luckily, we have people like Enju and Kisara. They are there taking care of them. And I am glad to see Enju, in high spirits, because you would think after what she went through and seeing all the people hurt right now, you would think that, she'll be depressed. But she's actually, like pretty strong-willed when it comes to her mentality, and I like that. But then we have the scientists, who I really believe was like the kind of person that would never want to like leave her lab, but to my surprise, she was actually assigned there to watch over everything. And so we see that because she is the smartest person in the Tokyo area, she actually she actually had the permission to hide out in the shelter, but she tore up that notice, and now she's there. And Rentaro, did have a good point that she probably could have gave it to somebody else, but she also had a good point because anybody that would be important like her, they already have, that kind of notice, and I'm pretty sure she would not give it to somebody like Rentaro or Kisara or anybody else that she worked with, because obviously they'll be there out on the battlefield. And even she made a comment about Enju, because Rentaro did ask her how did she think that Enju was doing right now, and I am glad to see that even she thought that Enju was doing pretty well. But obviously we did not want to bring up anything that happened to her, because that makes a lot of sense. Because if you remind her of what happened, that would like definitely bring down her spirits. But after they had after Kisara and Enju were like treating everybody there, they were finally able, to leave, and we see now that they're going to, stay at like this like broken down hotel, which was like really like a capsule to me. But they're going to be staying there for 3 days, I believe, because obviously they can't leave to the other monolith is brought in, and obviously that right there is the only thing that will, get rid of the Gastria, and that way they can return to their normal lives. But we see right away that Enju and Kisara, they are like rather scared, because right now it's like pretty dark in there, and it does look kind of creepy, and something actually startles them, but it's actually Tina who was there cleaning. And so right away afterwards, we see now that they are getting used to this, and we actually learned something pretty interesting, because while they were doing battle, we have Tina here and her little machines. They were able to pick up on a special kind of Gastria, and this Gastria right here could shoot out mercury, because Kisara was saying that most people that were like hit by the Spirit of Light, even though they had like lost some limbs, their main injury, it was like either going deaf or going blind, and that right there could be caused by mercury poisoning. And that's what we actually learned about the special kind of Gastria that can shoot out mercury. And sadly enough, Tina could not, send the image, because that machine was not capable of it. But at least that right there, we know that the Gastria, they are definitely, being organized in a very well constructed manner. But right then we have like this other soldier who had came to get Rentaro, because Gado, who is our so-called leader, he wants to see him. And so we actually learned that Gado, he actually lost a leg, but according to him, he did not lose it. He actually gave it to the Gastria. So right now we have Gado and Rentaro, going back and forth, and we actually learned that Rentaro, he played close attention, and according to him, this like main Gastria, the Oberon. I know I'm not saying it right, but it's the only name that I can think of calling it right now. This Gastria right here was like releasing a pheromone that was allowing it to control the others, and that right there, made a lot of sense, because why else will all these Gastria be working together, so organized? Because these are like mindless beasts, so if somebody could control them, then that right there is what makes them a threat. And so now we see that that Gado, he knew that already, but because Rentaro and his crew, because they had like disobeyed orders and left the line, we see that this guy, he was actually going to punish them for that. And not only did he disband them, but I do believe that he probably would have went as far as to having them killed. but we saw that as soon as Rintaro, got worked up, we have Gato Kurchal, attacking him and bringing him down pretty easily. That right there was shocking because we all know that Rintaro could like definitely fight, but the fact that he was so helpless in front of this Kurchal, that right there, was like surprising to me. But apparently, like I believe it's a Gastria that could shoot on Mercury. Like maybe I got the wrong information, but I do believe that they called it the what was it called, the Filthy Dash. I'm probably not saying that right, but this Gastria right here, Rintaro had to go out there and kill that one alone. Now I thought maybe it would be the entire gang going after it, but I had no idea that Rintaro would like try to like solo this thing. That right there is too much. But after he got the orders for that, we see now that he had returned to everybody, and Enju was like in the bed asleep, and Rintaro had apologized to her before he had left, and we see now that Kisara, she had caught him, sneaking out. And we see that, after this whole, like little thing of him playing it off, saying he was going to the bathroom, we actually, got this touching scene because Kisara would actually go as far as to run away with Rintaro. And that right there goes to show you, how deeply they care for each other. But obviously, even if they ran away, it would not make no difference because if the Gastria is still out there, then it will still be all over for them. And I also forgot to mention that when what was the name, when Gato actually attacked the like leader Gastria, because he said that he actually struck his head in his heart. That right there, like that should have killed it, if not damaged it permanently. But the Gastria was like already regenerating, so obviously it's not going to be easy to destroy it. But now we see that when Rintaro was like, traveling on his own, we have like these Gastria infected dogs. They were like chasing him, and you see at one moment, Rintaro was actually doing pretty well against them. But sadly, he got outnumbered, and one of them actually, bites into his shoulder, and they're causing him to like roll across the ground before falling off a cliff and into this river. And while he's like, like going downstream, he luckily stops on this rock, and we see that the dogs, they're like already there, but something, gets their attention, and we see the main dog itself is like this giant two-headed beast. We see now that when they all run to see what's going on, we see like this sword slushy sound going on, and I thought maybe it was Kisara and the rest of them, have followed Rintaro because that would have been awesome, but it was actually Kagetane and Kohina. Now, this right here would have been a lot more surprising and shocking if we did not get that little sound clip at the end for the preview of last week. But for some reason, like I said in my review a few episodes ago, where Rintaro, first defeated Kagetane, I said that we probably weren't done with him, and I am glad that I was right about that because we see that him and Kohina, they now save Rintaro basically because this guy gave him bandages and antibiotics as well. And so we see now that Rintaro definitely does not trust them, and he actually had his gun on them the whole time while he was like healing himself. And then you have Konya asking about Enju, and we see that when Rintaro tells her that she's alive, but they're like working apart right now, she got so happy, and she like kind of acting like a crazy girl because obviously she wants to fight Enju, but I definitely don't think that that she'll win. But now we see that now we see that in one scene we have them eating, and we see that that Kagetane took off his mask, and when Rintaro brought it up, and Kagetane asked him if he wanted to see his face, I was so hoping that Rintaro would say that. Like, would say yes, because I would love to see Kagetane's face, because I'm curious about why is he wearing a mask, because that right there, like, does kind of bug me a little bit. But now we see that Kagetane, even though he helped Rintaro, he does hate him, just like Rintaro hates him. And Kagetane, is so sure that Rentaro would like join his side one day, because he actually tried to sway Rentaro once again to his side, but for some reason, Kagetane is saying that one day he'll come to his side without fail, and I do wonder why is Kagetane so sure about that. But now we have the following morning here, and I'm actually surprised that Rentaro actually fell asleep with like those two around, but when he woke up, he saw that they were gone, and so obviously he had the reason to be there anymore. But we see now that when he does leave, we have Kagetane and Kohina. They were now waiting for him because they had this like message for him, and it was that Kagetane actually had found the Garcia that could shoot out Mercury. And now he told Rentaro, where to find it, and so now we have Rentaro going to it, but Kagetane and Kohina are following him, and according to Kagetane, the only reason why he's following him is because they're going the same way. And also, we also learned that Kagetane was there yesterday and he watched the battle. And I do wonder, how everybody would have reacted if he did get in there, because the only reason why Kagetane did not fight in the first place, it was because he had nothing to gain. Because he asked Rentaro what would he gain if he did fight, and Rentaro was saying peace. But we all know that never did like one thing Kagetane does not want, and he even said that he would like never wish for that. But like I said, overall this episode, it was pretty good. Kagetane's return would have been so much more shocking, I guess you can say, if we did not see that, in last week's preview. But overall, I give the episode probably like a 7.5 out of 10. But I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. So as always, please do not forget to like the video and subscribe, because that really helps me out. And you guys take it easy, and I will see you all next time.